Okay, good morning. So, as Pat has just mentioned, my name is Justin Noonan, and I am a researcher and cost consultant at the Construction Information Services. I'm just going to take you back to the start here. So, I'm here today. Well, sorry. First of all, before I start, I want to start by thanking Alan Hoare and CITA for inviting us here today and for giving us the opportunity to speak. We've been members of CITA for a number of years now, and we very much value the work they do, and we are very excited about this new tender group that they have proposed. Okay, so I'm here today to speak to you about online market intelligence and how that has manifested itself through our own system. Okay, so who are we? Well, some of you here will know who we are, and some of you may not. Well, we are a provider of market intelligence to the construction industry. Our team of researchers track construction projects from the pre-planning stage to on-site, and we then provide, I suppose, contact details, descriptions, and updated contract stages to enable people to get involved in projects and to tender for projects that may be specifically interesting to them. We were founded in 1973, so we have almost 40 years experience in the industry. Not me personally, but the company as a whole has almost 40 years experience. We're an Indigenous Irish company. We have recently launched a UK service. We reciprocate our information with a company called Barber ABI over in the UK, and we provide UK information here, and they provide our information to the UK market. We employ 15 staff. We traditionally have produced a hard copy CIS report for over 35 years, and I suppose that is what most people would identify us for, and what most people would recognise our company as. In recent times we have made significant changes, and I will be talking about that in more detail in the coming minutes. In 2007, a significant investment was made in technology platforms. A strategic decision was made at that time to make a number of changes in response to new market demands, and I'll be going into more detail about that shortly. Okay, so where are our sources? Well, we cover all counties, north and south, which incorporates 108 planning offices for applications, at which point we determine whether the project is a small scale or a large scale project. A small scale project would incorporate one-off houses, refurbishment works, house extensions, signage, work that wouldn't require much tracking. And large scale would comprise of everything else. We pick up decisions as they are made, as and when they are made, and at that point then the trigger is sort of set for our research team to make a call on these projects, and they will call, I suppose, the parties involved, namely the architect and engineers, to get further information on that project. And commencement notices. Commencements are tricky from a research point of view, but when they are provided, they are obviously very accurate, and they provide us with another source of information. News feeds and media outlets are scanned nationwide. In many cases, project updates are relayed to local newspapers, and we will monitor those papers on a daily basis to pick up any changes that may occur. As well as that, we'll monitor national papers to identify large-scale projects at the pre-planning stage, and at that stage we can make a number of calls to get additional information that may not be contained in the press release, and we can then provide that to our customers. And we look at tenders, obviously, also. Once a project goes to tender, we will pick up the details of that project, the submission deadline date, and we will publish that on our own projects. Okay, so as I've mentioned previously, back in 2007 there was a strategic decision to move the majority of our information to an online system. We do still produce our hard copy report, but a decision had to be made, and this decision was made in response to new demands in the marketplace. Obviously, when it comes to tendering, there has always been a requirement for quick, efficient and accurate information. However, in more recent times, there is almost an expectancy for that information to be provided in real time. And that is a justified expectation, and it has been brought about by the emergence of new information platforms, namely social media sites and blogs, and as a result we had to adapt to accommodate that. Relevance of information. Well, companies are going to want to know what projects are specific to them, and at the moment, I suppose companies don't have time to filter through large reports to identify projects that they can get involved in. They want to be able to do that on an online system and to be able to produce that information in a quick and efficient way, so that they can tender before anyone else, and they won't miss their opportunity. Speed of processing. Well, when that information is received, the customer, the business will want to act on that information as quickly as possible. And so they'll want to set up, I suppose, a list of a mail merge, and they'll want to market themselves to a number of clients, and that's another expectation that we have to meet. And proactivity. Well, gone are the days where companies can sit back and wait for opportunities to come to them. They now have to proactively find jobs to get involved in, and tender for them as and when they need to. Okay, so obviously there's a diverse market. We have 1,500 customers in over 150 sectors. So the demands and needs and expectations of those customers is going to vary significantly. So we need to have a number of, I suppose, elements that will allow those customers to find projects for their own needs. And I've categorised them under certain headings here. Sectors and category. Well, that's the first point to look at. That a subcontractor up in Donegal is not necessarily going to be too interested in a civil roads project in County Kerry, so they'll want to find projects that are related to them. Contract stage. Well, we have 5 different contract stages attached to each of our projects, and they are pre-tender, tender, pre-contract, main contract awarded, and on-site. Pre-tender projects, obviously, they're projects where the tender documentation is being prepared, and there may be businesses who would be interested in information at this stage. At the tender stage, obviously you've got the main contractor who's going to want to prepare tender documentation, and they'll be interested at that stage. Pre-contract is before the documentation has been signed, and when the main contract awarded, then I suppose there is you'll nearly get a start date and a number of when the contract goes to on-site, subcontractors will be appointed, and again there are opportunities at all stages throughout the process. Key players. Well, take for example Glenbeigh Construction, who I suppose it's widely known have been awarded many contracts for prisons around the country, and there may be subcontractors and suppliers who would have a good relationship with Glenbeigh Construction, and they may want to know where those projects are happening and when they're happening, and I suppose we needed to create a system that would facilitate this need also. Location speaks for itself really. A company is going to want to get involved in a project which is geographically near themselves, so it reduces costs for them, and obviously there's time efficiencies there as well. Materials. Again, a cladding subcontractor will only want to get involved in projects where their specific materials are needed, so they can filter. We need to create a system that could facilitate this also. Size and scale. Again, there are going to be certain contractors and certain subcontractors who will only want to get involved with large-scale projects, and the same applies for small-scale projects also. And commencement dates, so the start and finish dates of projects are obviously hugely important for anyone who wishes to get involved. And that's something that our research team will always try to identify when they are making phone calls on these projects. Okay, so what were the features that were required to facilitate these needs? Well, a system needed to be a single source of information for public and private sector contracts. It needs to be user-friendly. I know there has been a number of efforts, notably by CITA, in upskilling the industry. But to facilitate that, we also need to create a user-friendly platform for people to find projects for quite easily. And I will give you a little demonstration on our system in a couple of minutes' time. Searches need to be tailored for specific needs. And once they are tailored, of course, you can you need to have the option to save those searches so you can track those projects, and you don't have to go back and create the same filters and criteria for that search again. Watch lists and alerts, as I've just mentioned. When you have that list, you want to be alerted as to when those projects move on. Let's say from pre-tender to tender, you'll want to get an alert so you can get involved yourself. And cross-reference. Well, once you're in an online system, I suppose you have an expectation to be able to look at projects that certain companies may be involved in. So if there is a contractor attached to a particular project, you may also want to find out other projects that contractor is involved in. Okay. So with that in mind, the company back in 2008 launched a system called CIS, and that is our online market intelligence database. And in order to facilitate this, a number of systematic changes had to be made internally, not least of which was the creation of a new research platform called OLIS. And OLIS basically allows projects to be cyclically brings projects forward on a daily basis, as opposed to our traditional weekly updates that we would have had when we were producing the hard copy reports, which we still do, but we now have an emphasis on producing real-time information on a daily basis. In less than 3 years, we have transferred over 90% of our customers from the hard copy report to our online system. So that's reflective really of changing psyche in the industry, and of the efforts of the likes of CITA to upskill those in the industry as well. And as it stands, practically all new clients are subscribing to our online system. So, okay, so there is a quick look at our dashboard, and if I have 2 minutes here now, I will show you a quick little demonstration. Okay. Okay, so once you log in, this is the dashboard you see in front of you, and you can see it's quite a user-friendly interface. You have, on the right-hand side here, you have your different search filters, and if you drop down these filters, they're all quite straightforward categories to follow. I suppose the key search filter which you need to put on projects would be the contract stage. People will only be interested in contracts that are live, and you can then select from this list what stage would be appropriate for you to get involved in, and the projects that would appear then would be relevant to yourself. So I've saved a couple of searches here just to show you. Sorry, I have to log in again. Okay, so as I said, I've saved a number of searches I made earlier, just to show you what kind of results you'll get. So, the criteria set here was that these projects will be design contract awarded, pre-contract, pre-tender, tender, main contract awarded, subcontract awarded, and on-site. They're uploaded in the last 3 months. They're in either Leinster, Munster, Connacht or Ulster. The sector is commercial and retail, and the planning stage is granted, and the project type is large-scale projects only. As I've mentioned previously, large-scale projects incorporates everything above one-off houses really. Okay, so I'll take a quick look at a sample project here. And once you go into the project, you'll see straight away that you have your start and end date, application date, granted date, linked to the plans themselves, and a list of companies that will be involved at the pre-contract stage. As it says, the main contractor hasn't been awarded, so you haven't got that information yet. But I assume that will come in the near future. You have a history field here, and this kind of goes back to my point about providing real-time information. You can see that the contract stage was updated to pre-contract only 20 hours ago. So the research team yesterday identified this project, made a call on it, and updated it to pre-contract. A short description. This is basically what you get in your planning documents. Description of the project. Finishes, again, as I've mentioned previously, this will be incorporate materials. Categories, well, this is an office building, I think, so that's the primary category here. Reminders, and this is where you can set a reminder date for this project, and you know, you can then receive alerts to as and when this proceeds. Okay, so I think I've shown a little overview of the system anyway. Okay, so I suppose the systems that were needed to create ICIS and to facilitate ICIS also allow us to analyse our information. And from our analysis, we have identified that there are growth sectors in the industry at the moment. And I suppose, is there hope? Well, from our analysis, we can only give you what figures we have and what our research team have identified. And based on that, we have identified that there are 206 projects that are on site at present, and there are also, you know, I suppose nearly 3 times that that are due to go on site in the near future. If we look at this by sector, you can see that education stands out, and that's reflective of recent investments by I think it's by the government capital spending programme on school works for this summer. And these analyses were taken on Tuesday, and even since then, I can tell you firsthand that there have been quite a few applications in for school works for this coming summer. The residential graph looks quite high there, but that is only a reflection of the activity north of the border. This incorporates activity both north and south, and there are over 120 residential projects that are due to start on site in the north in the coming year. And that is, I think it's part of a sort of a social housing investment by the local government up north. And so it just shows that there are opportunities when you know, I suppose we look for them. There are sectors obviously that are quite obviously significantly smaller than before, where there are significantly smaller investments. Transport isn't really, that figure isn't really reflective of the investment in it, because obviously for transport projects the financial investment for an individual project will be significantly higher than that for an education project. Well, what does this equate to? Well, our research team have identified that there are 4.5 billion worth of projects that are currently on site. Now that figure isn't necessarily an investment for 2011, but it's a figure that is representative of, as I said, of the activity in the industry, and that money may be spent over years. For example, the Mater Hospital is a project that's ongoing, and that part of that 4.5 billion will be spent in 2012 also. And a further 4.5 billion worth of projects have been granted permission and are expected to progress during 2011 to either to main contract awarded or to on site. So that sort of gives you an indication of the activity there is. I'm not trying to deny the fact that there has been a significant drop in activity, but there is still activity there. And these figures do exclude the €5 billion proposed Metro North project. And we can substantiate these claims with our new information technology background and our new IT facilities in the company. And these facilities have empowered us, and they have given us the capability of I suppose, pulling out this kind of information, but of also producing information, relevant information, in a real-time format. So that's an overview of our system. Thank you for your time, and I think we're going to take questions shortly. But thank you for your time on that.